Hey guys, it's Washed Up Dota here, featuring me, Washed Up Dota Gamer Amaze. I am going to go into specific hero review today, specifically Crystal Maiden. So, this is going to be helpful for people who are new to the game, who haven't really seen all the heroes, and for those who have played Crystal Maiden, this video still might help you focus in terms of what it is you want to be doing in team fights, what it is you want to be thinking about, how you might want to itemize. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to briefly talk about our skills. They're pretty simple. The best way to talk about them is to actually take a look. So we're going to demo the hero. We're going to go right into it. And here we go. We have Crystal Maiden, a great support hero. That's what she's primarily played as. I sometimes play her in very strange positions, mid. It actually goes a lot better than you might think. So let's go over a few basics. Crystal Maiden has very low base attack damage, which means that her harass is not very strong. Her armor is also pretty low. It starts at 2, which is actually going to give you a physical reduction of 14%. So she's not the greatest at right-clicking. Her movement speed is also infamous as being one of the worst movement speeds on supports. It's just awful to play as so you just get caught by anything and you die. But her strength lies in her kit, and let's just take a quick look at what her kit is. So her Q is probably one of the more basic laning spells. It's this nice little explosion of damage, and we're just going to take a quick look with this dummy target. You see when you target it, it tells you how big it is. It's got a radius of 425. It's got a pretty long cast range. Because it has a radius, what this means is if you can get the cast range properly done, this is about 650, 700 or 50 cast range or so. So if you get this right on the edge, plus the radius, you're getting, this is almost about 1,100, 1,200 distance. That's huge. For example, if you're coming at somebody and you're trying to get this right on the edge, you don't have to necessarily click them on the center. If you can just get close enough, for example there, which I didn't even have to move for, you can see this is a massive amount of distance, approximately 1,200 or so. So if you're able to clip that on the edge, it's a very strong spell. Even if you don't, of course, this is just a strong spell in general. You'll see that it has decent damage build. It starts at 110, very high base damaging spell. It's got good movement speed slow. It's got an attack slow, which is very, very strong in the early game. This is why this is a skill that's picked quite often as either the first or potentially third or fourth skill. The earlier you get it, technically, the stronger it is. And I'll just show you why that is. When you look at heroes, you see they have a base attack speed. So for example, Puck starts at 114. So she attacks about this speed. But if you slow her, that drops dramatically down to 284, which means it takes 2 seconds per attack versus her usual 1.5. So the slow is very effective early on. It lasts a long time. You can see the cooldown's not very long. It's a pretty good spell. You can use this in fog. You can use this on fog. You don't need to see what you're hitting. All in all, pretty strong spell. So we'll look at the next spell. She has a Frostbite. This, in my opinion, is probably one of the strongest spells in the game for numerous reasons. One, very low cooldown. It has it starts at 9 seconds, which is pretty low in itself, and it goes all the way down to 6. What you'll notice also is the duration is pretty lengthy in terms of its cooldown. So it starts at 1.5, which means you'll have a 7.5 second sort of downtime on the spell. But at level 4, so if you max this up to 4, the duration is 3 seconds. The cooldown is 6 seconds. Basically, there's only ever 3 seconds, about half of the cooldown length, where someone is not frostbitten. It's very strong, both in lane and in fights. So let's go over what this does. This does 100 damage per second, so it starts off doing 150, which again is one of the highest base damage spells in the game. There are spells that are stronger, there's not many spells that are stronger, and this comes with a very useful disarm. It's a true root, so it's not a leash, it's a root, and when somebody is rooted, they can't move, just like a leash, but they also can't attack. Roots do not cancel channeling. This is not a stun. I want to make that very clear. So what that means is if someone's casting a spell like Witch Doctor and you frostbite them, that's not going to stop their channeling. And I'll just give you an example of that. And you see here I've got a Witch Doctor, so if you Death Ward, it's not going to cancel the channeling. Not very useful for canceling channeling, but what it is very good at, it's really strong in lane. Usually, and I'll say not always, but usually you'll see people getting this either first or second skill. It's just so obnoxiously powerful. There are reasons to go Q over W, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But the Frostbite is such a powerful spell. It's so powerful in lane. It lets you get free harass in. So for example, let's say you're playing the support in the safe lane. You see this enemy hero. You guys are trading hits. Trading hits isn't great because you lose life, okay? But if you do this, you get a couple of hits off. You just run away. Then there is you're not trading at that point. You're actually just getting free hits in. And this is one of the strengths of Frostbite. It's one of those spells you can fire off and just go. So again, I just want to showcase that because it is very important as a CM to be able to do this. You Frostbite, you get maybe one hit in and then you back off and it's a free hit basically. You have to make sure to do it before they get attacks off on you. Otherwise, that's not going to work so well. But you want to Frostbite, maybe in Fog, get one or two hits in and then back off. It's huge damage. The harass is insane. It's very, very strong. And so again, if you have someone coming at you, if you Frostbite, you can get free hits in. It's very strong. Okay, in terms of her third skill, very basic, Arcane Aura. It does exactly what it says it does. Gives everybody regen. Gives CM 3 times the amount of mana regen. Now, this is an important skill to learn. I think it's debatable when you learn it. CM is one of the lowest mana pools in the game. She makes up for that by having innate mana regen amplification. But even with that, you can see her base mana regen is quite terrible. It's just, it starts at 1.4, goes up about 0.2, 0.3 per level. Arcane Aura is 1 point in that, puts you up to 3. It triples, almost doubles to triples her mana regen, which is insane, right? It also gives everybody on the map a decent amount of mana regen. It gives your laning partner, if you have one, 1.2, which is what you get as well, minus your amplification. But it gives everyone else on the map 0.4, which is not a horrible amount. I mean, it's about less than half of a null talisman, but I mean, that's pretty good. Right, that's pretty good. Look at Null Talisman. You get that 1 mana regen. So those are her basic spells. Not too much to be said about Arcane Aura. Usually it's going to be leveled maybe second or third, depending on how the lane is going. So if you are harassing really well with Frostbite, maybe you just go into Arcane Aura. Maybe you skip the Crystal Nova. But we'll talk a little bit about the skill build in the lane, and I'm going to go into that. Finally, you have her ultimate Freezing Field. This is the, and I mean it when I say this, this is the most damaging ultimate in the game. People really undervalue and perhaps don't realize how much damage Freezing Field is. I'm going to show you one cast, and so it's a channeling spell, which means it does get cancelled by any sort of stun, any sort of silence. That's obviously not great. So it's knowing about when to use it, how to use it, and I'll get a little bit into that, but I really want to just emphasize, I want to focus on the amount of damage this does. We have a target dummy here, and I'm just going to show you, this is a level 1 ult, okay? You're doing about 250 to 300 DPS. And that's 2,200 damage if you manage to get the entire 10 seconds off. even if you don't, like I said, about 200 to 250 DPS, which is insane. Which is insane. It even starts off actually a little bit higher. We'll just do that again. You can see it actually starts off closer to 300, but it does average back down to about 200 to 250 or so. It's just luck based. It's a luck based ability. As you can see, the explosions pop up randomly. There's no way to choose where they go, but the tip is the closer you are to the center, the more damage it'll be doing. And the reason for that are the explosions. They spawn randomly in a circle around you. You can see that range, see that radius. The closer you are to center, the more likely it is that you're going to get explosions that hit around you. And I'm not going to go into the mathematics as to why. Nobody plays Dodo for math. Long story short, the math is pretty clear. If you stay near the center, in fact, I can show you this right now, just in case you don't know. But let's have a couple of different targets, okay? You can see my ultimate does catch all of them, okay? I have one next to me, one a little bit further away, and one very far away. We're just going to see a damage difference. So you're starting off at close to 250 here. This is actually higher, which is just luck. But you'll see on the outer edges, it's the lowest by far. Let's do another one here. That was this is not helping my case. So again, we'll do this twice. You'll see that you have almost 300 here, a little bit lower on this one. It's actually pretty close. This one's pretty close, I'm going to be honest. But you'll see on the outer rims, it's the lowest. But it was right this time. Okay, 245, 232, and then 100 on the rims. So it gives you a sense of how much damage it does. It's very, very strong. Put it like this, okay? When you're level 6, you have maybe 800 to 1,000 life, maybe, which means standing in 5 seconds freezing field means you're dead, right? If you get near the center, 5 seconds of freezing field, dead hero. You got to think about how much damage you can output as CM. If you frostbite someone and sit on top of them at level 6, they're dead. If they don't stun you, they are dead. There's almost no hero in the game that's going to survive that. Now, I say almost. Okay, there are obviously some very tanky heroes out there. Centaur, very tanky. There are some heroes that you're not going to be able to kill with this, but most carries, dead. Most supports, dead. Most mid heroes, dead. Now, of course, the tricky part is getting on top of them, but you're not very likely to be going around getting solo kills with CM. It does happen from time to time, because you also have to be careful of the fact that they might have a stun or a silence. But what this is very good for is in team fights. If you get good positioning, so for example, if you're near some trees, the enemy can't see you, right? And if, for example, you know there's a fight happening and there's a witch doctor here, and you just go over here in the fog, you're going to be able to get a lot of damage off on units that can't see you, can't cancel you. And if you come out, look at that, witch doctor is almost dead. Over 1,000. I canceled that early too. It was over 1,500 damage. So those are her basic abilities. I'm now going to go into laning. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about laning as Crystal Maiden, because I think people don't always utilize her to her full potential, and I really do want to talk about what you want to be doing as Crystal Maiden, specifically focusing on her spells. So as I said, there's a different ways you can start in terms of her skill build. I would say don't just do the same skill build every time. You need to think about the scenarios in which each skill is best. Now, obviously, never start with Arcane Aura. That's horrible. Don't ever do that. There is no reason you should ever start with Arcane Aura. And the reason is your mana pool is full. You want to use your mana pool. You don't want to... Arcane Aura is nice. It's great for your team. But it's going to hurt you way too much in the lane to ever skill this first. Hopefully, most of you know that. But if you don't skill Arcane Aura. Not a good level 1 spell. Instead, you got a choice between Crystal Nova and Frostbite. Now, which of these two skills should you get? Let's go over them again a little bit quicker this time. 110 base damage, 11 second cooldown, pretty low mana cost, 115, very strong slow, both attack and movement speed, very, very long range. This provides you with AoE harass, it provides you with AoE clear, you're not going to clear the whole wave in one nuke, but it pushes the wave. It provides you with the ability to hit both enemies at the same time, as opposed to Frostbite, which is a single target spell, much lower cooldown, slightly higher mana cost, higher base damage, but again, only targets one person, but it does have the nice added effect of a root, which disarms and stops them from moving. Which of these two skills do you take? My perspective is this, and this is what I'm going to suggest. It depends on how aggressive your lane is. And what I mean by that is if you have a lane in which your core really wants to get kills, like if your core wants to go Rambo and get as many kills as possible, and for example, a Slark. I think a Slark is a perfect example. Slark is a hero that wants to fight. They don't exactly want to just sit passively in CS because they've got the strongest level 1-2 skill in the game, Essence Shift. Almost nothing comes close to being as oppressive, level 1 at least. And so the advantage of having Crystal Nova is when you're using this against two heroes, it slows both of them down by a significant margin. It makes their attacks basically worthless. It's not as strong technically as the root and disarm, but you'll see the duration on Crystal Nova is much longer. So you're actually decreasing their damage significantly more over the period of time, even though it's not as good as the root in terms of locking them down. What you really want to do is mitigate damage that's coming out. If you guys are fighting early, the most amount of damage people are doing are not their spells. You know, it's a common mistake. People think, okay, oh my god, they have a spell. No, it's your auto attacks. Because if you look, your CM's auto attack, as low as it is, 51. If you look at this, that's like 2 hits, 106 damage, right? 1 cast of Q, only 82. My nuke that starts with 110, again, one of the highest damages in the game for a level 1 spell, does less damage than 2 of my auto attacks, right? So stopping their auto attacks in any way, shape, or form is actually the best way to win a team fight early. I mean, those level 1 ganks that you see sometimes with smokes, most of the damage is coming from auto attacks, not from spells. Spells are just there to slow them down, lock them down. It's really, even though CM is 51, very low, that's what's doing damage here. So when you're in a fight, let's say you're with a Slark, you're against two opponents in your safe lane. If you start with a Crystal Nova, they've basically gotten much lower damage. You'll see it reduces, like I said, Puck's attack speed from 1.5 to 2 seconds. Once every 1.5 to once every 2 seconds. That's a significant decrease in damage. It's a 30% decrease in attack speed, which is crazy. It's insane. It's a lot. And so if you want to fight really early and you really want to keep that sort of aggressive pressure up, I recommend Crystal Nova. On the other hand, if your lane is a little bit weaker, if you want to just farm, what you want to do is definitely go for Frostbite. Why? Because Frostbite lets you harass, lets you trade hits. If your carry is passive, and I'm thinking maybe about a hero like Spectre, who can't really brawl early. She just doesn't have the skill kit to brawl. If you have a hero that just wants to farm, just wants to chill, I recommend Frostbite. Why? It does a lot of neat things. One is, I've already shown you that sort of that harassing tip, right? So, for example, if you are eyeing the enemy support and you guys are kind of dancing with each other, figuring out who's going to harass who, if you Frostbite, you get a few free hits in. At this point, this is no longer a good trade for any enemy support that's going to be trading with you. If you can just Frostbite and you're scared they're going to retaliate with a spell, just Frostbite and walk away. I would try to get one hit in personally. You definitely have enough time for that, I promise you. But the safety of the engagement with Frostbite is just so high. You can get free harass in, they can't. Don't be afraid to use this. Don't try to use this for some sort of magical moment where you think, okay, well, if I just keep waiting, if I wait, I'll get the perfect Frostbite. There is no perfect Frostbite. Every Frostbite is going to be a perfect Frostbite. It's just that strong low levels. You see the enemy hero, and again, this is if you're talking about harassing between you and the enemy support, use Frostbite, get 2 hits in, get out. Reset, do the same thing. They are going to die before you die because you're not even losing HP. You're getting free damage in. It's such a long route. It's so strong. Okay, that's what I'm going to say about those 2 choices. So level 1, what you pick totally depends on your lane, what you want to do in the lane, and what your goal is. Now, what you want to do level 2 kind of depends. I think my recommendation, generally speaking, is because your mana pool is so low, you want to get you want to get the Arcane Aura, because if you look at Frostbite, let's say you skill Frostbite, you can only cast this. You can only cast this a few times, basically twice, and you're out of mana. Yeah, you can buy yourself a lot of clarities. You can eventually get, you know, like a Ring of Basilisk for the lane or something. But you can see this is not good. You cast twice and you're out. What you do is, if you get Arcane Aura, this will give you a lot more mana regen. This will actually make so you can cast Frostbite at minimum about once every 30 seconds, once every 40 seconds, which is, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's essentially once per wave, right? Each wave is 30 seconds. This lets you cast once per wave. That is pretty darn good. And that's not including all the clarities that you might get, which, by the way, will be amped because of your innate abilities. So clarities, super valuable on CM. It's literally just free spells. So keep that in mind. So level 2, I recommend Arcane Aura. There are obviously fringe cases where you might want Crystal Nova, or alternatively you might want Frostbite, depending on which one you took level 1. And the reason is because you think you might get a kill. You know, if you suddenly get this strong burst at level 2, you might be able to get a kill if you have both Crystal Nova and Frostbite, and I will talk about situations where that might happen. So if you're doing very well in your lane, it doesn't matter what you've skilled, either Crystal Nova or Frostbite, make sure when you're going to the lane, if you have a clarity, okay, you can definitely at level 2 probably get a kill. If you've been harassing with Frostbite, or alternatively, if you guys are already aggressive and playing around Crystal Nova, having that clarity in lane means that you're going to be very, very strong at level 2. You hit level 2, and the amount of damage you output is just insane. You've got 2 spells now. You're basically slowing them in between the cooldowns of each, and they're probably going to die to this combo if you have any sort of safe lane that has a decent damage or a decent early aggression kit. I'm thinking about heroes like PA, I'm thinking about heroes like Juggernaut, even Lifestealer, you know, heroes that kind of just get on top of them and don't let go. That is level 2, you're going to get a kill, but this is going to set you back for later in the lane. You're going to be out of mana for sure. Make sure you have clarities coming to you. Make sure you get Arcane Aura skilled up, and that's what I'll say about the lane in terms of skill build. In terms of itemization, I think the default starting items are pretty good. It tells you to get clarities. Now, I'm actually going to recommend buying 1 blood grenade, and the reason is because this is so powerful. It's an extra nuke. People don't realize how strong this is. It's costs you 75 health, but you do 50 damage plus an additional 75, 125 damage in an item. And if we see, we'll pretend we're fighting this Puck. And so if you see Puck has what, 500 life, if you're level 2 and you have both Q and W skilled, I'm going to show you the amount of damage this can do. And so right now that is 3 auto attacks, 4 auto attacks, and a spell. So 5 auto attacks, both your spells and blood grenade is a kill. 5 auto attacks, that's it, right? All that was 5 auto attacks. You can easily get 5 auto attacks before the fight starts or anything like that. The blood grenade is just so powerful to sort of ensure you get that kill. Yeah, it costs you a little bit of life, 75, but you're dealing way more. It's also a slow, it's also AoE. I mean, make sure you have a blood grenade. But other than that, get your regen. Make sure you have your tangos. Make sure you have your clarities so that you can regen back up. Again, keep in mind, clarity is amplified because of your innate blue heart flow. Because of that, you have 50% more mana regen from anything. That includes clarities. Clarities only restore 6, but with your innate, they restore 9. It's insane. Very, very good. Okay, so that's what I would say about itemization in the lane. Make sure you have regen so you can keep fighting. Ship clarities to yourself. If you run out of mana, never ever run out of mana on CM. You want to make sure you always have mana. You want to make sure you're always in a position to cast your spells. Crystal Nova, Frostbite, that's what you want to be doing. And then team fights, like I said, you want to focus on finding a good position for Freezing Field. You're not the type of hero that wants to go in and initiate. You don't have a stun. You're not Lion. You're not Shadow Shaman. You have a disarm and a root, which is great, but that's not really going to win the fight. It might be good for getting pickoffs and ganks, but it's not what you want to do in a fight. You're not going to win a fight off Frostbites. You're going to win a fight with Freezing Fields. Make sure you're positioned well. Make sure you're finding an opportunity to do it when either their stuns are down or where you're in the fog, and the amount of impact you're going to have in the game is insane. I promise you that. Crystal Maiden is a very strong laner. in terms of early game, and once you get past that hump, it's really all about what you want to do with Freezing Field. So most people are going to, after they get support items, maybe like the Glimmer, maybe like the Force Staff, they might get a Blink, they might get BKB, and then that's really when this hero starts to shine in team fights. But that's all I wanted to say for now. There is one more thing, and I should add, that's powerful about Frostbite. And I am going to just say that it does kill creeps, jungle creeps, almost instantaneously. It has to be a little bit higher level now if you want to kill the high level ones, but that's just a bit of a thing that I'd left out. Just that if you're going against jungle creeps, make sure to, I mean, you'll see if you frostbite a jungle creep, it'll basically instantly die. But that's, I don't want to call it more of an advanced trick, but that's not really what I wanted to focus on. So hopefully this video is helpful for anyone who hasn't played CM. You now know her kit a lot better. Remember, you've got the Crystal Nova, which is huge AoE and range. You've got the Frostbite, which is a disarm and a root. And yeah, the crazy amount of damage from Freezing Field. It also has an attack slow, but really, who cares? It's really the damage. The attack speed slow is nice, but that damage is insane. Okay, see you guys for now.